Всем привет! Today I'd like to tell you about some Russian cemetery and funreal traditions. I wanted to do this video to Halloween, but I actually forgot about Halloween because we don't really celebrate it in Russia. Well, some people do this, but just by their own wish. I don't celebrate, so I forgot. Well, at least I will do it for now. So actually I'd like to tell you what is a Russian cemetery first, because it's not really similar with Western cemeteries, at least the ones which I saw in movies, for example. For me, Western cemetery is something very accurate with very similar graves, so they look very similar to each other. Well, actually, I saw in real life, I also saw cemeteries in the other countries, and yes, they were each grave was quite similar with the others, at least in Europe. And in Russia, it's a bit different. Firstly, each person do grave by their wish. Usually the color of the grave is black, or I would say cherry color, something like this, and sometimes it's gray, but the most popular is black, and the second one, I would say that, yeah, the second one is gray, and the third one is cherry color. Also, the second quite typical thing for Russian grave is the portrait of the person or the picture of the person. It can be just face or chest-sized picture, or even sometimes a picture of the, how to say it, full length, full body. So something like this. You can find it almost every time. I would say like 80% of the Russian modern graves, or even not more than, they have the picture of the person, the portrait, and I think that's another difference from Western grave, because I haven't met such kind of thing, or maybe for some old one, but not for modern. What else? Sometimes it can be sculptures also, or something like this. So that depends on client wish. You can do whatever you want. Also, people usually bring flowers. Well, that's quite typical. They can garden something on this like territory around the grave. That's quite typical for, there are some kind of holidays in Russia when people go to cemetery, and they do like gardening there. They put the plants, water them, and all that stuff, and we also did it. So for me that was very calming, actually. Yeah, that's really like gardening, and I love gardening, so that was even some kind of nice, I would say. The other tradition I don't really like or don't understand. Luckily nowadays it's not so popular, but for some people they still do this. That's eating on the cemetery. So some people, many actually of them, they even do grave with table and with some sitting place nearby. So they bring some food there, I don't know, some chicken, vegetables, alcohol, or something like this, and they actually sit there and eat, and that's about like sitting and memorizing the person and all that stuff. And I can't bear it. I can't eat being in the cemetery, because I don't know, that's strange and that's unpleasant for me. And I always had fights with my relatives, because I said that I'm not going to eat, I don't want to sit and eat, and they said like, no, why, that's a tradition. But for me that's quite strange. I don't understand why should I do this. And actually I think that nowadays we can remember person not being in the cemetery, but we can sit at home and look at the photos, videos, and nowadays there are many ways to keep memory about person, not just a piece of stone, but That's a tradition which is still exists. What else? Some people, they live near the grave candies, but luckily nowadays they try to avoid this tradition because candies and sweets attract insects and ants, and these ants and insects eat the plants and the flowers which people garden, so the one tradition destroys the other one. So now people avoid leaving candies and all that stuff. The other tradition, when person just died, for example, they put, relatives or someone, they put the small glass for vodka. They pour vodka in this glass. They can do it on a cemetery or at home. And in our beliefs, people believe that the first 40 days human soul is still on the earth. I don't know, maybe in Western countries it's the same, maybe in the whole Christian culture it's the same, I don't know. So this vodka, each day, of course, it becomes less and less vodka because the water comes in the air, that's physics. But according to beliefs and tradition, that means that person drinks this vodka each day a little bit, and when the vodka is over in 40 days, then that means that he or she, they drank all this vodka. But this is not very popular tradition, but I met it. Or sometimes people just come to the cemetery and pour this vodka and leave it there, like for that person. I think that in some countries people have something very similar. In Mexico, somewhere else, not with vodka, but with something. I heard at least. What else? Also about 40 days. We've never done something like this, but I know this tradition. According to belief that the first 40 days soul is still on the earth. Some people, they can cover all the mirrors in their home for 40 days because it is claimed that the soul can stuck in the mirror and stay there. So the soul won't leave the earth, won't come to heaven because it is stuck in the mirror, and also that's bad for the home because it's like a ghost in the home and the mirror. So that's why some people still cover the mirrors for 40 days, but that's quite a rare thing. I don't think that many people still believe in this. But it was common for Russia, at least before. If you want to bring flowers to the cemetery, of course, that's quite optional and that's on your choice. You can bring one flower or the bouquet of flowers, but actually, according to Russian traditions, if you want to bring flowers for funreal or to cemetery, that must be, I forgot how to call it. So for example, 2, 4, 6 and so on flowers. And if it's some holiday, some celebrations, then it's like 3, 5, 7. So all this stuff, I will check this word later. About also some traditions. Now I think no one cares, but before it was typical not to sleep, keeping your legs to the way out of the room, to the door, from the room, from the home, because usually only dead people are lying like this, so they are lied like this by their relatives and all that stuff. So if you are not dead, you shouldn't lay like this with your legs to the way out of home. But nowadays I think it's like no one cares because it depends on your life conditions and what you can afford in your home place. In general, I would say that that's quite typical for Russian cemetery, mostly for the old parts, to be not accurate because, well, for new parts, of course, that's a bit better, but also I wouldn't say that it's 100% perfect. Sometimes it's even hard to come to your territory, to grave of your relative, because there can be no normal paths, and sometimes there are, but in a bad ways. No, everywhere are some fences and all that stuff. Yeah, also people can make fences for their territory to border it, to surround it with the fencing, and so that's it. That's not very accurate, and everything not in one style, but that's typical for Russian cemetery, for Russian private houses. They all are different, so that's all depends on client's wishes, as I said before. So I think that's it. That's all I wanted to say about Russian cemetery traditions, and I hope that this video was interesting and informative for you. Thank you for watching. Пока-пока.